You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from NVIDIA to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means it is time to wrap up your broadcast week here on the network with a little bit of the old Hot Options Report, aka Thor. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, reminding you, if you're not listening to the full network, you're not subscribed to the full Options Insider Radio Network feed, wherever you get your favorite podcast, man, you are missing out. Over a dozen other shows coming at you. And, of course, if you want to join us for Options Oddities, just aired before this program, the official after party of Volatility Views, pro Q&As, early access to research, all kinds of goodies. You wanted early access to a sweet VIX fly that Brian put out earlier this week. Only place to get it, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get your hands on all those goodies. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are that you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees, whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades. Every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Again, the Hot Options Report brought to you by Public. Full disclosures in the podcast description. All right, let's get down to business here. Let's kick things off in VIX land. VIX closing today right around 1665, so almost literally unched yet again. Day 3 of the shutdown, and VIX kind of shrugging it all off, at least for right now. Putting up some numbers finally today, though. About almost exactly 750,000 contracts changing hands today, 751 to be precise. That's against an ADV of 730,000 contracts. Obviously, that ADV has come back down to earth after soaring to nearly 1 million contracts a day. Not too long ago, the hot option out there, you know it's a weird day, listeners, when the hot option is the Jan pars, the Jan 100s in VIX going up 104,000 times. Looks like we had a funky vertical, the Jan 6100 vertical going up again 104,000 times. That is all openings. That's new paper. It's like the price was around 30 cents. So maybe that floats your boat. 30 cents for a $40 wide vertical. Hit us up if that intrigues you. As we keep on rolling out to SPY land, listeners. Was it a hot day in SPY? The answer was yes. Shutdown putting up a little bit of paper out there. A little over 9.5 million contracts changing hands today. That's against an ADV of about 8.33 million. So looking a little spicy out there. SPY closing almost literally unched on the day as well. Right around 669.25 in SPY today, listeners. The hot option out there, nearly 670,000. So again, we're not talking small numbers. Nearly 670,000 of the 670 puts. Average price for these, 61 cents. We went out 669 in about a quarter, listeners. So you can do the math. They're looking all right. As we keep on rolling out to the S, was it a similarly active day out in the SPX, listeners? The answer is yes. Nearly 5 million contracts, about 4.94 million contracts changing hands. That's against an ADV of 4.74, so exactly 700,000 more contracts going up in the SPX today. The S going out 67.15.79, so again, almost literally unched on the day today as well. So a lot of Sturm and Drang signifying nothing right now for day 3 of the shutdown. The hot option out there, almost 173,000 of these 67 half calls. Average price for these, nearly $3, $2.80. So it looks like a bit of a rough one if you rode these all the way through the close, listeners. As we keep on rolling out to the land of small caps, listeners. Was it a hot day in IWM? The answer was yes. Almost 1.75 million contracts changing hands out there today, listeners. So a pretty active day. That's against an ADV of about 1.5 million. So looking pretty robust out there. Small caps closing up 0.75% today. So small caps getting a bit of a lift, while the rest of the market kind of struggling to find its footing. Closing 245.83 out there. The hot option out there, 102,000 of the 245 puts. So at the money puts expiring today. Average price for these right around 18 cents. So not looking great going into the close. But on the flip side, if you bought them, only 18 cents. So not exactly wiping out the pocketbook, unless, of course, you did all 102,000. That would add up to a bit of an ouchie. As we keep on rolling out to the Qs, listeners. Was it a hot day in the Qs? Once again, the answer was yes, right around 4.75 million. The ADV about 4.25 million, so about 500,000 more contracts piling in to the NASDAQ today. The Qs going out 603.18, giving up the ghost a little bit today, off about 0.4%. So Qs giving it up, small caps rallying, the S kind of hanging out, unched. The Dow getting a little bit of a lift today as well, but about 0.5%. So kind of a weird mixed bag out there today, listeners. What was the hot option out there in the NASDAQ today? 265,000 of the 607 calls. So an interesting strike. A bit optimistic given where we closed, listeners. Average price for these, nearly 50 cents. So if you bought these for that average price and rode them all the way through the close, probably left a little money on the table today, listeners, as we keep on rolling out to the single names out there, listeners. Was it a hot day in single name land? The answer was most decidedly yes. It's been a little while since we've seen our top 10 threatening 1 million contracts, and that's where we are today, listeners. So, hot day in the single names. Let's get out to the monster first. That's coming at number 10, 929,000 contracts. So that is extremely active. There are many days we don't see that kind of volume until we get to number 3 on our top 10. So, kicking it off at number 10, pretty spicy day. The monster closing 351.63, giving up a little over $0.50 out there today, putting up again 929,000 contracts. The hot option out there, nearly 80,000, 78,000 of the 360s. Average price for these about 62 cents. So that looks like a bit of an ouchie if you loaded up on these earlier today. Now you might say, well, that could have been closing, but no, that's all opening paper. So opening paper on these 360s. If you bought these and rode them through the close, you're wearing it to the tune of about 62 cents. So that's a little bit of an ouchie as we keep on rolling to number 9. Name we haven't talked about in a while. We're just talking about it on Options Oddities again. Putting up some numbers today. It's our old pal Plug Power. Closing today, $3.80, rallying nearly $1 or about 34%. So a spicy day in Plug Power, putting up 965,000 contracts. So Plug Power seemingly roaring back to life today, listeners. What was the hot option on a very hot day in Plug? It was 102,000 of the 3.5 calls. Average price for these, 36 cents. You might say that's a pretty good do. Stock went out 380, so they went out pretty close to break even. But these actually expire next week, listeners. So they bought themselves an extra week. Looking pretty decent on those right now. Can Plug continue its run, or is it just going to peter out next week? We'll keep an eye on it, listeners, as we keep on rolling to number 8. It's the Amazonians. 219.51 is where the stock closed, giving up nearly $3 out there. So part of that NASDAQ route out there, listeners, putting up 966,000 contracts today, listeners. So Amazon looking pretty heavy out there today as well. The hot option out there for the Amazonians today, 92,000 of the 225 calls. Average price of these close to 21 cents. So you know the same deal, listeners. This is all opening paper. Hopefully you overrode them. If you sold them for 21 cents, you're looking okay. If you bought them for 21 cents and rode them through the close, unfortunately not a winner chicken dinner for you. As we keep on rolling to number 7, Intel. 36.83, giving up about $0.50 today, or a little over 1, about 1.33%. Putting up over 1 million contracts again, 1.12 million contracts. The hot option out there in Intel today, 77,000 of the 37 halves. Average price for these, about 15 cents. Again, all opening. Just about everything we talk about here in the top 10 listeners is opening paper. On the plus side, you only spend 15 cents if you bought these. On the downside, not looking great if you rode them through the close. As we keep on rolling to number 6, Open. Open has been hanging out around the 8 handle for the better part of this week now, which is kind of wild. It's a weirdly quiet week for Open. Not quite on the volume front, though. 1.42 million contracts changing hands, so a hot day out there. Open managing to rally a whopping dime out there today, closing $8.11, listeners. The hot option out there, we've been talking nines all week. Did we get there today? We got close, got to 883. So if you had those nines for those prices we talked about earlier this week, 20 to 30 odd cents, somewhere in that range, you may have had a chance when we rallied up there to maybe get them off and scratch them, but that was short-lived. Ended up the day $8.11. All that premium went to die. But on the flip side, today, the hot option, 210,000 of the 8 halves. Average price for these, about 12 cents. Once again, if you bought these and rode them through the close, not exactly looking great out there, listeners. So folks, rolling the bones in open. Unfortunately for them, not looking great as open has remained kind of locked to the 8 handle today. A weirdly quiet week for them, at least on the volatility front. As we keep on rolling to number 5, it's the Fruit Company, closing today almost 258 exactly, gaining about 90 cents out there, about 1/3%, putting up 1.44 million contracts. And the hot option out there today, it was the 260s, 243,000, so nearly 250,000 contracts going up just in these 260s alone, listeners. Average price for these, 26 cents, and we almost got there today as well. 259 and about 1/4 was the high, so they were looking all right until they weren't, listeners. If you rode these into the close and you bought them, not exactly smiling at the end of the day here, listeners. As we keep on rolling out to the Wolf. What can you say about the Wolf? This name is absolutely insane out here, listeners. 24 1/3 is where it closed, 24.37, putting up 1.44 million contracts. If you've been listening to us talk about the Wolf over the last year and change and laughing at it, check it out over the last week and change. It's been wild. This restructuring corporate action out here has been absolutely crazy. Stock move has been absolutely crazy. We talked about options on options oddities that were absolutely crazy. Just wild stuff out here for the Wolf. 318,000 of the 1/2 puts going up today, listeners. The tickers are getting weird out here as well. You got these Wolf 1 now is the new ticker, so all sorts of weird stuff going on out here, listeners. But these 1/2 puts trading 318,000 times today for an average price of about $1.23. Wild paper. You don't normally see $1.50 puts when the stock is north of $20 trading for anywhere close to $1.50 yet. That's what we're seeing in the Wolf out here. This is absolutely wild stuff. Not for the faint of heart. I don't recommend you dive right on into this name, listener, unless you do a full deep dive into all the nuances around the corporate action and the restructuring and the new options symbol. Either way, the Wolf, number 4, listeners, today. Just absolutely wild stuff. What could topple the Wolf? Well, it's our old pal, number 3. He got knocked off the top 10 earlier this week. Now he's back. It's Palantir, 173.07 today. Giving up a mighty ghost today. Selling off nearly $14, or about 7.5%. So they came for Palantir today. Listen, it looks like they have some security woes out there, in which that's kind of the name of their game, security. So if you have some concerns, it's going to weigh on the stock. Putting up over 1.75 million contracts, listeners, 1.76 million. So a banger day out there. You might be forgiven for expecting some puts to lead the dance when you're selling off 7.5%, but no. 180 still leading the dance. Hope springs eternal to the upside. 107, almost 108,000 of the 180s expiring today. Average price for these, 81 cents, listeners. Wild stuff out here. Let's hope they overwrote those. Certainly if they wrote them into the close. The stock was as high as nearly 187 at one point, right around the open today. So the 180s around that 81 cent price maybe make a little bit more sense in that context, but still, if you spent 81 cents on these bad boys today, that is a rough way to go. As you keep on going to number 2, it's NVIDIA. Yes, number 2. 187.62. NVIDIA selling off about $1.33 today, putting up over 3.01 million contracts to be precise. The hot option out there, again, we're talking index numbers, 328,000 of the 190s. Average price for these, about 30 cents, listeners. So once again, we talked about these earlier this week as well. There was a lot of action on that 190 strike. And the question was, could we get there? Well, the answer was yes. We did get there this morning. 190 and about 1/3. So they were looking decent, at least break even at one point today before giving up that ghost. So hopefully, if you had these on from earlier this week, took the opportunity to get the heck out of Dodge this morning before closing shy of 188 in NVIDIA today. As we keep on rolling to number 1, the big dog, maybe looking a little smaller today, it's Tesla continuing its sell-off of the last few sessions. Closing shy of 430, 429.83, off about 6.25%, about almost 1.5%. We've been talking for a while now, 430s, 440s, all these upside strikes. What was the hot option out there in Tesla? By the way, Tesla putting up 5 1/3 million contracts out there. A very active day for Tesla listeners. The hot option out there, about 310,000 of the 430 calls within spitting distance of where we close, listeners. Average price of these about $1.45, so obviously going into the close. You hope you sold these bad boys, even though you were probably sweating it earlier today, listeners. Just a rough way to go here in Tesla. And that's going to do it for our hot options report. Also going to do it for our broadcast week here on the network. If you missed anything, make sure you're subscribed to the full Options Insider Radio Network feed, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Get out there, get away from your screens this weekend, have a good time. We'll see you back here on Monday for the option block, all the way through to after the closing bell, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.